Hi everyone, I'm Kristen. This is my AuthorTube channel, and today we're talking about why readers need to be writers. No. Why writers need to be readers. All sorts of authors have been telling us for years that as writers, we need to be readers. And I also agree with that, just from my perspective as an unpublished author. But also, like, my experience in marketing, in writing, even in like journaling, the more I read, the more effective I am in the written word. And so I just wanted to sound in on this topic and talk about my thoughts on it. And I wanted to start with a couple of quotes, 3 quotes from well-known authors, 2 of which are my absolute favorite. Well, I have a lot of favorites. William Faulkner, who wrote The Sound of the Fury, which was fantastic, among other things. And J.K. Rowling, who, I mean, Harry Potter, come on. Amazing. So, and also Stephen King, who, I mean, horror isn't my bag, but there's no denying that he's a successful author and very good at writing. So I buy whatever he has to say, or sell, whatever that is. Okay, Stephen King says, if you want to be a writer, you must do 2 things above all others: read a lot and write a lot. I agree. Obviously, if you want to write, you have to do writing, but reading is also very important. William Faulkner says, read, read, read. Read everything. Read trash, read classics, read good and bad, and see how they do it. Just like a carpenter who works as an apprentice and studies the master. Read. You'll absorb it. And that's why I love to read so much. Also, I mean, it's a great escape for me and I enjoy reading, but the more I read, the more I absorb, and it really helps me to strengthen my skills, some of which are lacking, a lot of which are lacking. So reading really helps me. And J.K. Rowling says, the most important thing is to read as much as you can, like I did. It will give you an understanding of what makes good writing, and it will enlarge your vocabulary. Honestly, vocabulary is a huge reason to read. There's words that I just recently discovered because I read. Obviously, I mean, in high school I took grammar, in college I took grammar, but it's really when you read and you hear those words in your everyday situations in life that they stick and that you can then use them in your writing as well. To write is to be intimately familiar with words. And so it makes sense that as writers and as authors, we need to read, because what better way to become intimately familiar with those words? We kind of have to like consume, I think is a good way to put it. Kind of awkward though. It's like, let's just eat all the words. But we have to consume stories. I mean, that's something that we need to do if we want to be good. And so as I've kind of written and not written and read and not read, there are some things that have really helped me kind of infuse words, I guess, into my life. And it's hard, guys. Like, it's real hard. We're trying to write and everything that comes with that, like outlining and mapping and scheduling. And then we need to read on top of that, and then we need to work. We have friendships, we have relationships, we have other obligations, we have children, some of us. I mean, life is a whole thing, and adding reading on top of that is definitely hard. But if we want to be good writers, it's something that we have to do. So I have kind of 4 things that I've thought up that have helped me kind of be more engaged in reading, and I thought I just would share those. I'm sure there's a million more, and I'm sure a million people have already thought of these, but these are just things that in my experience and in my journey have really helped. And so I wanted to share them, because that's what I get to do here. I make videos and I get to share my experiences. So anyway, the first thing, if I'm having a hard time writing or reading, is I kind of take a quick assessment. I look at my life and I say, okay, what am I doing and what has room to bump? Like, life is all about priorities, right? And so if writing is a priority for me, then reading needs to be too. And then maybe I bump TVs, or maybe I bump movies, or maybe I hang out with my friends once a week instead of like 3 nights a week, or whatever the case may be. Just shuffle around some stuff and make sure that you have time to read, because it makes a huge difference. The other thing is to make sure you're reading engaged. I think that's a given. But for me, like, if I'm just like reading for fun and reading for fluff, I don't get as much out of it. But if I'm like highlighting, or if I'm asking questions, or if I'm annotating it, then I get a lot out of it. Or if like I circle words that I don't understand so I can look them up later, or words that I really like, that really helps me to be more engaged in what I'm reading and really kind of internalize the words that I'm coming across. Oh, this one's good. So the next two kind of go not really hand in hand, but whatever. Read genres that you don't normally read. So I am writing young adult right now, and I'm writing kind of cozy mysteries, which is a whole subset of mysteries. But those are the two that I'm reading because that's what I'm writing and I need to know how it's done. But I could read horror, I could read just straightforward fiction, I could read children's lit, I could read historical fiction. I mean, there's all sorts of things that I could be reading and expanding my understanding on, and that's important to do so that we don't get kind of pigeonholed into one individual. My rabbit's trying to eat my tripod. It's fine. So we don't get pigeonholed into like one discipline. So that's something that's really helped me too, is broadening my reading to more kind of genres and more books that I wouldn't necessarily pick up, because you can learn really great things. Like Stephen King, I'm not super into horror, but he's really freaking good at writing, so I read his stuff too. Anyway, and then the last thing that really helps me is to read a lot in what I'm trying to write. So I read a lot of young adult, I read a lot of cozy mysteries, because those are things that I'm writing and I need to know how to do it well. So I think that's a given. I think that everyone kind of reads what they're writing, but just kind of a reminder to do a real good deep dive and to read in an engaged way. So anyway, those are my tips on how to be a reader as a writer. I hope they're helpful, and I will catch you guys in my next video.